Alright, today I'm playing an Elastephantastic Adventure by myself. Yeah, I thought it'd be fun to do a kind of developer commentary type thing. Post-mortem? Post-mortem always sounds weird. Nothing died? At least as far as I'm concerned. Uh, yeah, so this is a game I made for the Thinky Puzzle Game Jam a couple of months ago. It was the inaugural Thinky Puzzle Game Jam. I think there were 49 other entries, so go check them out. They're all, I think most of them on itch.io. All of them are on, well, at least the game jam is on itch.io, and then from there you can get to the games. Yeah, so it was a kind of week long. You got a week to do it, but like within that week, you were supposed to spend about 48 hours on it at most. Which is nice because there are 48-hour game jams where you only get 48 hours and you basically have to give up sleep and other healthy parts of living, like eating properly and so on. But the funny thing was, even with a week, like fitting 48 hours of spare time in a week while doing your normal stuff, like working 8 hours a day and sleeping hopefully 8 hours a day, and making food and seeing friends and all that kind of stuff. I don't really have like many responsibilities, like other than like looking after myself. So it was a struggle for me to fit 48 hours in. So I can't imagine what it's like if people have got kids or whatever. But I mean, thankfully, we got the entire week to spread it out, so it made it a bit nicer. But I was definitely still cramming time towards the end. So yeah, an Elastephantastic Adventure. Anything else to say before I get started? I mean, I could just jump in. Apparently, I'm not focused. There we go. Cool. I think it looks nice. I think it looks really nice. I'm really glad with how it ended up looking. I was like, I guess I'll get to that in a second. So what I was thinking about when I wanted to make this game, so I already had an idea for a game mechanic that I wanted to do, a puzzle game mechanic. And I was kind of thinking I'm just going to do that anyway, no matter what happens. Like regardless of, because there's going to be a theme to the game jam. I was like, well, I might just ignore the theme and do the idea that I want to do because I'm quite interested in exploring it. And then the theme came out, which was the elephant in the room. And just, I guess by complete coincidence, elephants and my mechanic idea actually seemed to work out pretty well. And almost in a more fun way. The mechanic that I'm talking about doesn't come up until like halfway through the game. So if you haven't played it, you won't see it for a while. Because it's a fairly long game, although I guess I'll get through the puzzles quite quickly since I designed them. I know the solutions. But yeah, I had this idea for a mechanic. I wanted to try it out. So the thing I keep thinking about, like, if I were to go back to this mechanic for like a bigger, fuller game, would I stick with the elephant theme or not? The thing is, there were some things I wanted to do with it that I couldn't do because of the elephant theme. I guess I'll talk about that a bit more later. Yeah, so basically inspirations were Steven Sausage Roll for the movement, the way this movement works. Although I guess it wasn't that way round. I thought of a mechanic that required, like the mechanic sort of fundamentally requires the character to be taking up two spaces. And so the Steven Sausage Roll style movement is like just the nicest way of doing that. It's just what happens when you have like a character that takes two movement. So yeah, like I take up two spaces, and I rotate around the backspace, the space where my legs are, and my trunk rotates around, so my trunk can stick out over the water. Also, I guess like I really love kind of open world puzzle games where like all the puzzles are just in one world. So I guess like a Monsters Expedition or whatever. There are others. Yes, there are others. But yeah, like rather than the Steven Sausage Roll where there is an overworld, but the puzzles are kind of their own isolated things. I love like puzzles that are just in the world. So it just turns everything into like it feels like an adventure, in my opinion. So yeah, Monsters Expedition is definitely an inspiration there. And there was a game by Competor, Competor, uh, who made a game called. There's another puzzle script game called A Monster Snowball, and I was definitely thinking about that a lot as well while I did this. Obviously, A Monster Snowball is inspired by A Monsters Expedition as well. But yeah, just the fact that somebody did a Monsters Expedition style game in puzzle script made me think, oh, I could do a Monsters Expedition style game in puzzle script as well. Though that had like very different mechanics, really. But it did also. So you might notice as I'm walking around, the camera like moves smoothly. That's a mod for puzzle script that I had made, like I think earlier this year, maybe, or maybe it was last. I've lost track of time. So yeah, the smooth camera is a puzzle script thing I'd made, and a Monsters Snowball had used it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, like having an overworld game with the smooth camera motion. It's really nice. So yeah, I wanted to do that. Anyway, so oh, there's so many things I want to say. I might as well say everything, right? It's much easier. So okay. I thought of another thing to say, which is that I streamed the whole process of developing this. So if you want to go watch me make it, which is much slower and more tedious than watching me play it, but if you really want to, you can go and find the playlist. I guess I'll link to it in the description. But yeah, you can see like me making my decisions as I go. I probably can't quite remember the order that I did everything, because like certainly this area that I'm in right now was not the first thing I did in the game. I think the first thing I did, the first like puzzle I made was it the last puzzle in the game? It might have been. I'm not 100% certain, but like I remember the last puzzle in the game is like one of the first ones I did. I'm not sure if it was the very first, but yeah, that seems to be quite common where you think of a mechanic idea, and then your first instinct, at least for me, is to start exploring like some of the deeper consequences of the mechanic, and just you just inevitably end up with a really difficult puzzle. That's true for the game that I'm working on separate to this, which is called Indirection. So that game, the second puzzle I made, it was originally going to be the second puzzle in the game, ended up, it's now like 50th. There's like, well, maybe not 50th, I'm not sure how many puzzles there are, but like maybe 30th. But there's like, I was like, this could be the second puzzle in the game. And then ended up inserting 20 plus other puzzles between the first one and that. Just because it's like what you want to end up with is a natural progression between each of the puzzles where they feel like they build up. Whereas if you jump straight from basic movement to the deep consequences of your mechanic, then you've skipped everything out, and that's not good. That's not going to work out well for the player. I had imagined. So one thing I'd like to change, if I could, is this starting area not being particularly identifiable. I think people do remember it because you come back to it later. People do remember it and recognize that they've come back to the start, which is good. But I had wanted, for example, like in my head, this starting area is going to be like a beach or something, so it was like recognizable as like a specific place. I also had the idea of like maybe there's like some kind of a cave or something where the elephants hide if they need to hide. I don't know, or like where they live if it's rainy or whatever. So yeah, some sort of. It could just be a silly elephant house or something, but like there could have been something here that said this is the starting point. But I didn't have time. I ran out of time. There was not enough time to do anything. Oh, the one other thing I'll mention before I start doing the puzzles is the art style. I ended up being pretty happy with it. The one thing I was really focusing on was because it was like an elephant, and therefore the environment was going to be, elephants are typically in warm regions. I I was like, let's do really warm colors. Like everything's going to be shifted to a warmer color than I would normally choose. Like the trees are almost, I don't know, they are green, but like they're going towards yellow. The ground is definitely going towards yellow. The water, the blue water is going towards green. Like it's very slightly green, that water. It's kind of, I think your eyes do, well, you're not your eyes, your brain does a bit of white balancing. So you still look at that blue and go, oh, no, that's definitely blue. At least I do. But then if you took that blue in isolation, you'd definitely be like, okay, that's quite a greenish blue. I think that's just because your brain does some white balancing. But yeah, just I guess I've been thinking about like color temperature of when doing pixel art a fair bit. I just thought, okay, this time I'm just going to go crazy and I'm going to make everything really warm. See how it looks, and I'm pretty happy with it. Anyway, the starting area is set up so that you have to go this direction, and eventually you return to this area from this direction over here on the left, and you exit out this way once you have access to that thing. But one of the really fun things about exploring this kind of movement, which Steven Sausage Roll really didn't do that much, like it just like threw you into some really difficult puzzles straight away. They weren't just like movement puzzles. But one of the things about exploring this movement is that there's like it imposes very interesting restrictions on how you can move. For example, I can't go around this corner like while facing forwards because I can't get my legs into the right place. So you have to go backwards around this corner. But also the way this like block is placed, I can't push the block because I can't swing my trunk around to push it. I can like if I push it to the right now, it's hitting that tree, so I can't do that. Sadly, there's no like. So I'm pressing down now. I would have loved to be able to put like error animations in, like, oh, you can't turn this way because things are blocked, but you know that's just impossible. I was really struggling with time. The mechanic that comes up later took up like 2/3. Implementing it took up 2/3 of my time, and the rest was like just putting puzzles together, putting the world together, etc. But yeah, you obviously can't go over this way, can't do anything here, so you have to go this way. I quite like this little area that I came up with at the start, because if you go in like backwards or whatever, because of this restriction of like if you go into a space, if you move backwards into a corner or forwards into a corner, you can only turn a certain way and go off a certain direction. So I ended up using that here. If you're going backwards, you go up here and then you get stuck in this corner up here. If you're going forwards, you can come out this way. But then the fun thing is, you go down each of these branches. I sort of stumbled into this accidentally. Wait, how do I do this game? And then walk so I came down here forwards, and now I'm walking out forwards. So now I'm stuck in this space in a different way. So I can turn to the right and come here. Like from that position, I can then go down here and down here. And so then I just repeated that. I was like, this will be fun. Why don't I have like a little square where I have to keep entering into it? Square where I have to keep entering into it and then exiting from a different direction. I guess I put this water here just to teach that you can turn over water. I don't know if it works that way. Hopefully it does. And then it kind of repeats it here. One of the really fun things about doing an overworld, like an open world type overworld thing, is just connecting things together. Like the stuff you can see on the right with those like wooden logs, which don't come up much later in the game, until much later in the game. But like they're there and they're teasing you, and just the way that this water is that same water that we're going to be at later. I just loved like filling in. Like I think when I made this puzzle, probably there were just the 3 bits of water that I'm turning over right now. But then when I put it in the world and there was this other bit of water over on the right, I was like, well, logically, those could be one bit of water, so why not connect them up? And then this bit of water that I'm standing over ends up being relevant later on, which is really fun. I just love putting those things together. And I think it's satisfying for people to play as well. Like, it's like a maze. It's like where things connect up. Or like when you're exploring a city and you go down some street that you've never gone down. You come out on a street that you know, and you're like, whoa, these two streets connect in an interesting way. There's just something really satisfying about that. Anyway, there's a checkpoint. Okay. I guess if I'd had more time, I would have made a little animation for the checkpoints, like a little flag that pops up or something. I don't know what. Just to make it a bit more clear what that noise even means. And now we have boxes. So this is just teaching. These boxes can be pushed. Because you're forced to push it here, and then you're forced to like go around it, and you're forced to like nudge it with your trunk as well. And like it's stuck against this wall, so the only way it can go is over here. And then you learn that you can cross over. We're over here. Another checkpoint. So yeah, this set of puzzles, I think I did most of these like linearly. I think the one that we just did, I added quite late actually, because I was like, I still don't have a puzzle where like you just push a block into water. Like I just want to teach pushing blocks into water. So yeah, I think I did that one quite late, but most of this set of puzzles I did quite linearly. So here's another one. It's just avoiding pushing this block into that water because we need to take it over there. But I ended up finding a nice little trick here for this puzzle, which isn't too complicated, but it's a little bit more interesting than what we did before, which is that it's fun to play with like where people expect things to go. So basically we know we want to take this block to the right. And I think there's a natural reaction when people do this to think, oh, now I've obviously done something wrong because I've gone to the right, but it's not in the right row. So therefore they'll like undo and they'll think, okay, how do I get that block to go up? I can't get that block to go up. What do I do? But the trick is that you do have to push it to the right and then bring it back again. Any puzzle that requires you to do the unintuitive thing of bringing your object away from its goal is always going to be interesting. And it's like this is a nice early stage to do that because it's quite a basic premise for a puzzle. So it's good to get it out of the way with something nice and fairly simple. That can go in there. I had to put so much effort into like making sure other things weren't possible. Like this block has to go there. I mean, in this case, it's pretty easy. You just put trees in place. And the way the movement works makes it like, it's like much more convenient to think of ways of blocking certain movements. You just put trees in the way or whatever, or put a corner in. Like this corner forces me to go into this room forwards. Not that it's that necessary, but like, at least if I know the player's coming in a certain direction, because like I can't come in this way. I have to go in this way and turn like this. Yeah, at least if you know they're coming in a certain direction, you can reason more about what the experience of doing the puzzle will be like, which I think is better rather than coming in. If I was coming in backwards here, the puzzle would feel different, whereas I want to convey a certain feeling with the puzzle, I guess. So this is just one of this is probably a little simpler than the previous one, but just using these spaces, I guess, is what this is about. It's bringing your trunk behind this block while it's in those spaces, and then getting it down there. And then here I'm forced to go down here backwards, so I can turn this corner. And then I can turn over here. Okay, so this, I kind of wish I hadn't rotated this puzzle, but it works still. So this bit is meant to teach that you can even if you can't fully turn, you can still nudge. I guess without the animations, it's not that clear, but if it were animated, I'd be half turning and my trunk would be pushing the block, but then I couldn't fully turn because the tree's there. But that's required in this space, so I guess you're forced to learn that you can do that. Bring it out here, bring it back. It's just the simplest way I could think of to require that you do that move. This is the very north of the map here. There's a very large forest to the right of us. That'll bring this down. And then there's a fun little, I just kept finding fun little things to do. So here, the fun thing is that if you come into this is like two corners together. When I talk about corners, I'm talking about like a 2x2 space that the elephant can turn in and go down there. This is like two of those together. As in this 2x2 space and this 2x2 space that I'm turning over, that they overlap each other. But like it's a little pair of corners where you can rotate like that, which gets me here. But then I'm like not in a position to have to push that box, although I could have been. No, I couldn't have been. That box had to end up there. So I have to turn backwards into here and then rotate like this, come over here, push that way. And then we go back again and push that in that space. I can't remember why I had 2 bits of water here. Probably not a great reason. I don't know. Maybe there was. Okay, so that puzzle a second ago was the one where I was taught that I can nudge things around the corner. So I want to do another like nudging puzzle. I guess it's not nudging around the corner though. In this case, I will get to rotate, but it's about the fact that you can push things in 2 directions at the same time. And so this is a puzzle. I kind of had to rush this puzzle. So it's probably not as good as it could be, and I think it doesn't really make anybody go, oh, I get the point of that puzzle. This is a puzzle that requires you, like, if you go in like this, you cannot get these anymore. Like, as far as I know, I might have made a mistake. Like at that point, there's no way I can push that. Yeah, is there a way? I can push them back. That's just going back. Yeah, I don't think there's any way I could get those away from that wall. And if you do that, then that one's against that wall, and then that's a problem. But let's just throw this. We need both of them because we need to cross this water down here. Let me just get you out the way in some way. You just go there. So that you being against this wall, like assume we hadn't dropped that in the water, but just talking about this block, like either to pull you away from the wall, you have to go there, or you have to go. Well, I mean, I can't even get behind you from that space. So yeah, so that blocks. Like, if you push it against that wall, you've definitely broken the puzzle. So yeah, the forced move here is meant to be this one, where you separate the 2 blocks at the same time. I'm pretty sure it's forced, right? Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, I think I did a good job of it. I just remember feeling like I haven't really had enough time to think whether I've actually forced that move or not. That was the main move I was focusing on. One where you push 2 objects in 2 different directions at the same time. Also, games where objects move in 2 different directions at the same time in puzzle scripts are the absolute worst things to implement. But it's my own doing. I am responsible. Okay, this is a fun one. Okay, so the next thing I wanted, because we're on the topic of like, kind of, I guess all of this is about like manipulating the blocks by like swinging your trunk around or whatever. So there had to be one where you had to do it over water, because that's the next natural consequence to like, because I guess there's an instinctive thing of like, oh, that's against the water, therefore it's stuck. Especially if you're familiar with other Sokobans. I imagine for somebody who's familiar with Sokobans but not familiar with Stephen Sausage Roll, that would feel like a stuck condition. Because like you think of walls as being like, you think of the water as being a wall and it's against the wall, therefore you can't get the block away from the wall. Of course, because we have a trunk, that's not true. However, the extra trick here is that I hope it comes across like this, but this bit here is like where the solution goes, obviously, but it's also necessary. You have to come down here in order to turn around and get up there. I was kind of hoping that people wouldn't think of this as being part of the puzzle, but it is. So you have to do it. You go like that. You do that. And you push it down. Woohoo! Whoopie doop. Okay, first big puzzle of the game, which has some problems, to be honest. There's definitely a bunch of really cool things going on, and this was one of the early puzzles I designed as well. I kind of started with some of the big ones before doing the small ones, I think. But yeah, so this is a big puzzle that is a kind of about trading resources, like how many. I've got this block to begin with, and like I want to cross over that way. That's the exit, which you could find out just by like going down here and realizing there's no other way out of this area. There's just this like enclosed space. So I want to go that way, but okay, this is a fun thing. Like just setting up the like a fake a fake solution, like, or a false solution. It's like, oh, I can just do that. I can turn around here. No, I can't because I'm an elephant and I can't move like that. So then you realize that you have to fill in the too wide space, and then hopefully people have realized there is a too wide block there, and that's the first too wide block. So this is also the introduction to that as a concept. There can be blocks that are too wide and therefore don't fall down a single space or whatever. And you hopefully realize that from looking at this, because the only other way out is down, which is a one wide corridor. Like for that block on the left, the only way out is through the one wide corridor. I could be using my cursor more. This corridor here. And therefore this has to cross this gap, of course, which it can do because it's too wide. So yeah, this is like the goal of this is to A, introduce multi-blocks, and B, just do a kind of, I mean, it's pretty typical in puzzle games to have at some point a kind of resource trading puzzle. I mean, some puzzle games are like really all that. It's like, well, how do I have to lose this thing in order to gain these things, and then am I in a better position? So in order to gain this, we're going to get across into this area, which is currently disconnected, like even through the space here, which I'll talk about in a second. And then so therefore I need to cross this space. So what you might think is, let's put that down in the corner again, is let's go get this, because this is obviously useless here. So, whoops. One of the issues with this puzzle is it's a little tedious in places. How do I do this? Oh, I have to push it against the water again. So it's reinforcing what I've just been taught. That sometimes you have to push things against water. It's working on me. I'm like not knowing how to solve my own puzzles. So you might think, okay, well, let's just cross this gap. But then you realize, actually, even with that there, I cannot get anywhere in here. Oh, you can. You can get into the space. This is fun. But then you're stuck in this corner. This is another one of those like consequences of the way you move, which is that if I back into this space, I mean, it's the same thing. This is like one of those corners, the 2x2 corners. I can only exit on a certain column, which is this column. To exit on that column, I have to come in here forwards. Therefore, at some point, this needs to get filled in. Okay, so therefore, and I can't fill that in without, well, actually I can. I can do this. Give me a second. How much I'm doing do I need to do? Is it faster to restart? No, surely not. Come on, stop doing that. Just walk out. There we go. Yep. Okay. There we go. So let's say we brought this down here. Let's say we're trying to fill in the like other bit of water that we need to fill in all to go in the right direction. Now this space took me ages to figure out. I needed a space where I could take a block through, but not the elephant. This whole region is designed specifically to do that, and it was a real pain to come up with, but it works. I was a bit disappointed that it ended up requiring one of these little around the tree nudges. Does it require? Yeah, it does require that. But it works. I can't get the elephant through in this space, but I managed to get the block through. But that's the thing, I can't get the elephant through in this space, therefore I can't go around and walk over that block. If I could, I'd get the double block. So, of course, these 2 blocks on the right are relevant. So this is where the trading resources comes into play. Yeah, there's quite a lot of like pushing around in this puzzle, like over long distances, which I think becomes a little tedious. But whatever. It's like one of two large puzzles in the game. It's not that much of a problem. So that's about getting these, in which case you might think to do that, but then how do I like get these two blocks? Like they just get stuck in this corner. So yeah, a lot of what I was doing was just thinking about how can I make sure that you cannot get blocks a certain way. So instead what you have to do is approach this from this side. Of course I can already nudge these north. So now I can come in here. This is another one of those double corners. Nice little motif. And then we can come and get this. So let's push you around this way. So one of the problems with this puzzle is that this is actually, even though I spent ages coming up with this mechanism, it's actually totally unnecessary. Because I could have, like I could have not brought this around this bottom space. I could have taken that up north, pushed it in the water to the left, and then brought the next one up north and pushed it over the one on the left. So this actual mechanism down here is completely unnecessary. I didn't notice when I was designing it. Too focused on other things, but yeah, that's a bit of a mistake on my part. Oh well, it's a game jam game. That's what happens. So to get that there, I have to do this. There we go. And then we can get in here, we can turn the right way, we can go up here, and then we have access to this. Except I have to come in backwards. I've tricked myself here. Yeah, this is a situation where if you come into this room, this is now stuck. Like, I have no way of getting this. Doesn't matter what I do, if I come in this direction, this is going to get stuck. So that's why this is a double corner. So I can turn like that. There we go. And I can take that over. And then I guess this is teaching a little something, which is that you can like nudge, because your trunk goes over the water, you can nudge the thing like that, which is pretty nice. Pretty happy with that. And then it's just a case of getting that into position. How does one do that? How does one do that? I don't want to push you further away. How does one do this? Do I have to turn? Oh, no. Yes. Oh, no. Okay, this is fine. I just do this, turn around. No, I don't. What am I doing? How do I do this? Oh, I have to go forwards here. Okay. But then I do have to bring this. This was probably unnecessary, because this just adds to the tediousness of the puzzle. But you have to bring this over here. And then down here. I kind of like, though, that you have to slide it over this like single bridge. There's just something satisfying about that. And then bring it back. Like on the like balance the other way. There's just something really satisfying about that, so I sort of had to put it in. Yeah. Just like, yeah, I had to bring it down on one side and then take it up on the other side in order to be able to push it this direction. To me, that's cool. I don't know if that's cool. Is that cool? Let me know. I can take this over this space, of course. Oh, one thing I haven't mentioned is that, like, once I got those two blocks, like once I trade one block to get two blocks, could I not have just brought them up to the top? This water that's here prevents that. Oh, I actually want to show that now. Let's do it again. Okay, well, so I can do it quickly. Can I do it quickly? Somebody did a speed run of this game. It was like 10 minutes. I think certainly right after I made the game, I could have done a very fast speed run. Right now, maybe not as fast, but whatever. Is it bad etiquette to do a speed run of your own game? Okay, so once I've got these, I just want to show this, which is that. How do I lift you? Oh, I end up taking you that way, but there is a way of lifting you. I guess I can put you down here and then grab you. Let's do this, okay. So you might think, well, I just need to cross a too wide gap at the top there. So why don't I just try and bring this? So I'll do this. And then this is the problem. It's going to go in that water. But that's not the only problem. Well, maybe that is the only problem. Like, there's no other way of doing this, right? How would I get that up on the other column? I wouldn't. So even if I did that and then brought the other block up, I think I built this mechanism here to make it so that you'd still lose one. Maybe it was just an extra precaution or something. Yeah. What am I doing? Yeah. There's no other way of bringing that up, is there? No. In which case, maybe it was a bit of an unnecessary precaution. Unnecessary precaution. Maybe. Oh, the other thing I was thinking about is like so many things going on with this puzzle. When you first bring the first block down, you could think, oh, I'll just push it in this water and cross over and grab that. But when you do that, you necessarily get that too wide block stuck, which is another fun little trap. I think. What am I thinking of? Yeah, maybe it was an unnecessary precaution. I could trade one block for two. I can't get either of those two blocks without trading the one block. Can I? No. No. Yeah, maybe it wasn't necessary. Okay. Let's go get that. Let's do it properly. You come down here. As intended. Okay, cool. Go backwards, then fall for that trap again. Sneaky trick. This. And then bring this all the way this way. And bring this down. And then do I need to do it one more? No, that was good. So then push it one to the left, push it up again. There, come back in backwards, do that. I kind of like this little mechanism anyway, just for this reason. You have to push that there and then come down here and merge it up. It's just kind of fun. Then you can finally go in that space, and we're back to the start room. But, okay, so there's a fun little thing here. So obviously if I walk in here backwards, I just end up back in here. And I wasn't able to nudge this as I did it, or whatever. Like this is the same situation I was in at the start, and I still can't do anything with this block. So I have to go in forwards. And if I go in forwards, you'll notice there's a checkpoint. So there's a weird conditional checkpoint there that only fires if you're moving forwards. And I had to do that because the checkpoints are one use only. And at the beginning of the game, you can walk into this space. So what if you like walked to that space, used up the checkpoint, and then you wouldn't get the checkpoint when you came back at this point? So I made it so that at the beginning, because you can only move this way in this corridor, it doesn't fire the checkpoint. But at this point, you can go this way, and you have to go this way. Like, you're not going to miss this checkpoint, because like if you're going to do the next puzzle, you have to turn this way around. But I made it conditional on that. Okay, I think we'll stop there. Next time we'll continue from this point. I think it feels like a good point to stop on, like, because we're back at the start, and there's something so satisfying about being back at the start. And soon we'll be getting to the log mechanic, which is like, I'm still not at the main mechanic of the game, which is one of the things I'm unsure what to do about if I were to like revisit this, because there's so much to explore without getting to the main mechanic. Yet the main mechanic, like, I've seen some people play this game and never actually even get to the main mechanic, and I think they're left with a feeling of like, oh, okay, that was cool, but like it wasn't really anything new. Whereas the main mechanic is the thing that differentiates it. But like, to introduce it early has its own problems. Yeah, I guess we'll see next time. yeah, we'll continue from here. All right, cool. See you for that.